So good day, everyone. Now let us move forward to those sentenced to the Morians. Priests like Guevara and Mendoza appeared to have been sentenced to the Morians for their prominent part in the campaign for the rights of the Filipinos. There are reports stated that the Spanish prosecutors bribed a witness to testify against the three who were charged with sedition and treason, which lead to their death. Mariano Sevilla and Toribio del Pilar were implicated because of letters to Burgos, while Laza perhaps was arrested because he shared a house with Zamora. So these people were more likely to be active or less active members of Izquierdo, which was he called the junta. So when we say junta, it is junta or junta, it is a military or political group that rules a country after taking power by force. So they eventually vanished with little evidence of their existence as an organization where whether in church or in state. So Jose Basa was the correspondent and distributor of the newspaper El Eco Filipino, published in Madrid by Federico Lerena. So Federico Lerena was his brother-in-law. His brother-in-law. So on the red window or the peach window, you'll be seeing there Jose Basa, and on the yellow one, you'll be seeing there an example of the El Eco Filipino newspaper, and on the green ones, you'll be seeing there Federico Lirena. So based on Izquierdo, in its article, it thundered against everything existing here. So it was clearly a liberal reformist paper, as the intercepted correspondence of Lorena clearly shows indignant at the insane insurrection. So it is a horrendous crime in a country where a revolt could only lead to a bloody question of places. So Enrique Paraiso, he promoted the circulation of the newspaper and linked in this with the press. So the documents assembled by Izquierdo to justify his measures where it shows that there are any connections between any of the accused priests and Paraiso or with the El Eco Filipino. So we have Regidor had left the Philippines for Madrid as a result of the revolution in 1868, where he had founded with Rafael M. Labra the newspaper El Correo de España. So his brother Antonio has been studying in Madrid, and he returned to the Philippines where he joined others seeking liberal reform. So Father Agustin Mendoza was sending money to Rafael Labra through Manuel Regidor to promote the cause of the Filipino clergy through a newspaper. So now let's move forward to those sentenced to Sueta or Cartagena. So Enrique Paraiso is a former government employee. So I have also mentioned him earlier. So he was an early member of the Masonic Lodge of Pandacan, and his spontaneous offer to solicit subscription to El Eco Filipino seems in consonance with his activist figure. But there must have been something more to his activity to have caused him, together with Maximo Inocencio and Crisanto de los Reyes, to be sentenced to prison. First to Sueta in Africa, then to Cartagena. So unlike the lawyers and businessmen were found to be, in fact, the real planners of the revolt in all the records of the sentences. So these three are sentenced at the same time as the three priests and himself, who was immediate instrument of of the revolt, at least in Cavite. Okay. Now, Regidor affirmed that Izquierdo was himself a Mason, which was given by one of the generals that was involved in overthrowing the monarchy in 1868. Hence, he said he did not allow that those who turned out to be Masons be condemned to death, providing that those who were arrested in the beginning be descend to the peninsula or to Africa to suffer the penalty imposed on them. For these reasons, they destined Tosueta and Cartagena, Enrique Paraiso, Crisanto Reyes, and Maximo Inocencio. So all three Indios, the first being a brother of the Lodge of Pandacan and the two latter of the Cavite. So this is done to make sure that they were made to suffer the real and effective punishment to which they had been sentenced, since they or their accomplices and families have been known to have contributed in the most facilitating the mutiny. Now, in the reconstruct of the revolt and its aftermath, Zaldua recruited the soldiers in Cavite, promising them various incentives and assuring them that the priests and lawyers were behind the revolt. So Esguerdo claimed that the priests were offering masses for the success of the revolt, and thus it could not fail. So from Zaldua, they would learn that the king was to be Burgos, probably including Zamora with him. And behind Zaldua was the two Caviteños, Maximo Inocencio and Crisanto de los Reyes. So on the other hand, Paraiso, who lived in Manila, was likely the one who recruited the Manila Regiment number 1 and 2, whose sergeants and corporals were implicated. So in the end, like those of regiments number 7 in Cavite, they remained loyal to Spain. So Zaldua in his interrogation have implicated that all those who would be found guilty of a capital crime on condition that he saved his life. So Jeronimo de los Reyes, the great grandson of Crisanto, drawing on family records and traditions, affirmed directly that these three good friends were in fact the instigators of the mutiny. So Tormo concluded that the true instigators of the Cavite revolt were not the native priests whom Izquierdo mistakenly executed, but the Freemasons whom he did not dare to execute, fearing to provoke an international conflict. So, although lawyers and businessmen and other groups had different goals, they worked together and both were represented in Madrid by Manuel Regidor. So the petition of Antonio Regidor complained that one charge against himself was the declaration of Crisanto de los Reyes, who it seemed that he has affirmed that he has heard it said that Regidor was engaged in conspiracy. Also, Artigas confirms this accusation, citing the actual summary of charges that he heard it said that Pardo, Regidor, Zamora, and others were involved in the insurrection. So in conclusion, in the end, various factors doomed the revolt. So the regiments were never really committed to the revolt. The rally of the regiments by Colonel Hora Seo Sawa in Cavite and by Izquierdo himself in Manila. The fact that Izquierdo had been alerted to the coming revolt by very explicit anonymous letters, and the alert action of Carvalho in blocking the sea, the men from Bacoor. Finally, it is clear that there was a little support for a national revolution at this time. So it is evident that their plans did not work out and that the revolt had no chance of succeeding once the three committed regiment had remained loyal to Spain. And that would be all about the Cavite Mutiny toward a definitive history. Thank you.